Hello everyone, Fredo Rockwell here. What you see before you here is a full set of the world's first, I'm not sure what to call these things. I mean, they're small, they're colorful, have numbers. I wonder if I can bend one. Crikey! Ah! No, I can't. Okay, I'm going to say these are coins, but that's not an easy call because these things have characteristics of both coins and banknotes and are really a sort of hybrid or halfway point between the two. And that is only one of the several things which make these coins so unusual. But before we get into the technological innovations involved here, let's talk about where these coins came from, which is also really unusual. And actually, before we even do that, please be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next Strange Money video. This channel hit 250 subscribers while I was writing this script, which is really exciting, so thank you to everyone who has helped make this possible. Okay, this money comes from a country with, quote, limited recognition, and which has several different names. It calls itself Transnistria, but in most of the world it tends to be called Transnistria, or sometimes Transnistria. All of these names mean the same thing, across the Dniester River, and refer to a narrow strip of land in Moldova, which is located between the eastern bank of the Dniester and the Ukrainian border. Before 1990, Moldova was known as the Moldavian Soviet Socialist Republic, and it was one of the 15 republics which made up the Soviet Union. At about the same time that it became the newly independent Republic of Moldova, the people living between the Dniester and the Ukrainian border declared themselves to be the Pridnestrovian Moldavian Republic, or PMR, and adopted the old Moldavian SSR flag, hammer and sickle and all, as the flag of their new country. This declaration of independence was not recognized by anyone else, but the self-declared state has still managed to hang in there. The continued existence of this unrecognized republic, sitting right inside Moldovan territory, eventually led to a brief but fairly violent civil war in 1992, which ended following the intervention of the Russian 14th Guards Army. Since then, the Russian military has maintained a presence in the PMR and currently has about 1,400 troops in the area. The Russian and PMR governments call these troops peacekeepers, but it should be noted that their presence in Moldova is not sanctioned by the Moldovan authorities. I don't want to get too much into the politics of the PMR at this point. That's not what this video is about. But I do want to make one thing clear. In general, I tend to think most secessionist movements are a bad idea, and I don't want this video to be seen as an endorsement of the PMR or its policies. I'll try to cover these issues in more depth in another video. But I did actually visit Pridnestrovia once, many years ago, in 2003. It was during a fairly short visit to Moldova. I crossed the border to visit Tiraspol, the Pridnestrovian capital city, just for the day. It was certainly one of the weirder day trips I've ever been on, and it almost went really wrong when a Pridnestrovian border guard tried to detain me while I was crossing back into Moldovan-controlled territory, but I'll save that story for another time. Much like when you visit any other country, the first thing I did when I got off the bus in Tiraspol was to change some money into the local currency. There was a foreign exchange kiosk, just like you see in towns all over Europe, with the numbers and the little flags. I think I changed about 20 pounds into Pridnestrovian rubles, and of course, I saved a few. Here they are. Perhaps the most unexpected thing about these banknotes is their condition. I mean, I guess a polite way to put it would be to say that they are heavily circulated. And the reason I think that is so interesting is that most countries with, quote, limited recognition either don't have their own currency, or if they do, it is mostly just a symbolic currency, which is rarely used. So for example, in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, they don't have their own currency. They just use the Turkish lira. Abkhazia technically has its own currency, the apsar, but these are produced mostly for collectors, and in daily life, everyone uses the Russian ruble. So, just the fact that Pridnestrovian rubles are in circulation enough for banknotes to get into this condition tells you something, which is that this currency is in regular use. If this note was in better condition, I would probably find its design pretty interesting, but it's pretty much impossible to see much detail at this point. So instead, I'm going to show you this commemorative 1 ruble banknote, which I bought online, which was produced in 2019 to celebrate 25 years since the Pridnestrovian ruble was launched. So let's have a look at that. This is, I have to say, a pretty spectacular banknote. It uses the portrait format, which is currently all the rage, and features the famed Russian 18th century general Alexander Suvorov. In 1792, while leading Russian troops against the Ottoman Empire on the banks of the Dnestr River, Suvorov ordered the erection of some military fortifications, which, over time, became the city of Tiraspol. As I just mentioned, this is the Pridnestrovian capital. A statue of Suvorov is one of the most prominent landmarks in Tiraspol today, and, as we are seeing, he is featured regularly and prominently on Pridnestrovian money. So on the obverse, the front, besides the portrait of Suvorov, there are images of his many military honors, the logo of the Pridnestrovian Republican Bank, and a stylish row of ones down the left-hand side. On the reverse, there's a nice depiction of the Tikhina Fortress, which is in the second largest city in Pridnestrovia, a city called Bender. Yep. Then at the bottom is the building of the Pridnestrovian Republican Bank, along with the Russian for 25 years of the Pridnestrovian ruble written underneath. There are a fair number of security features, including a watermark of Suvorov's portrait and the bank's initials, a metallic security strip which also shows the bank's initials when you hold it up to the light, UV-sensitive fibers, and quite a lot of microprint, which is in Russian, but on the reverse I can make out the date 17th of August 1994 in Russian, presumably the date when the Pridnestrovian ruble was launched. So, the Pridnestrovian Republican Bank seems to have a taste for innovative design, and therefore it's not that surprising that it was the first central bank in the world to issue these coins. But the Pridnestrovians cannot take credit for the technology behind this new type of money. That belongs to the Russian banknote stamp and security document printer, Gosnak. I emailed Gosnak to see if they would help me understand these coins better, and they replied. They were actually super helpful and kind enough to provide me with some of the images I'm using in this video. I'm actually really impressed with this technology, so I'm probably going to gush a bit, but I want it to be clear that Gosnak has not paid me and this is not an advertisement. I just think what they've invented is really cool. So Gosnak has a very long history. It was originally founded in 1818 by Tsar Alexander I, and today is 100% owned by the Russian government. In addition to designing and printing the banknotes used in Russia, Gosnak also has contracts to produce banknotes for other countries. This is a really competitive industry, which includes companies like Britain's De La Rue, Canadian Banknote, and several others, so innovating to stay ahead of the competition is an important part of what Gosnak does. And these coins from Pridnestrovia are just that, an innovative new product which Gosnak calls Planet, which is like the word planet, as in what Pluto used to be, with an M instead of an N. Planet coins are made up of several layers, starting with an incredibly rigid layer in the middle. I don't know exactly what that layer is made of, but according to what Gosnak sent me, it is made of fibrous tissue impregnated with special polymer resins, which is put together under high pressure and in high temperatures. On either side of this central layer is the layer where the printing and security features sit, the parts of these coins which make them the most like banknotes, I guess, and this layer is in turn covered by a protective transparent layer. The result is a coin-like object which is very light, very durable, and I would presume very difficult to counterfeit. The faces of the coin have a nice textured surface, and I thought that they might feel scratchy or uncomfortable in my hand, but the edges are really smooth and they're actually very comfortable to hold. They are really light though. It feels like I'm barely holding anything at all in my hands. Really importantly, these composite material coins have several advantages over conventional metal coins. Metal coins, most obviously, are heavy. And I mean, they're heavy in a personally annoying way if you end up with a pocket full of them, but they're also very heavy to move about in bulk, the way banks have to do. Coins are also expensive to produce, especially when they're made up of relatively valuable metals like silver or copper. Planet coins are, in stark contrast, made of much cheaper, much lighter materials. But these Planet coins also have features which make them like banknotes. Let's have a look at these. The most obvious feature is the colors. These are really colorful coins. The first thing they reminded me of is the marshmallows in Lucky Charms cereal. The 1 ruble coin is orange, round, and like the 1 ruble banknote, has a picture of General Suvorov. There is a large 1 followed by the Russian word for ruble, some text which says Pridnestrovian Republican Bank, the year of issue, 2014, and, very interestingly, just above the 1 it says Series AA, which I guess means these coins could have serial numbers like banknotes, which is cool. There is a 3 ruble coin, certainly an unusual denomination. It is square-ish, green and features a picture of a famous 18th century military engineer named François Saint-de-Volant. Supposedly he was Flemish, even though he has a very French-sounding name. But anyway, he worked for the Russian military for many years, including a spell under the command of our man General Suvorov, and designed the original fortress, which was built to found Tiraspol. The 5 ruble coin, which very satisfyingly has 5 sides, is blue and features Count Pyotr Rumyantsev, who, besides being a count, was also a Russian general. In 1770, over 20 years before the arrival of General Suvorov, his forces defeated the Ottomans, who were then occupying the Tikhina fortress in Bender, the one we saw on the reverse on the 1 ruble note. The last coin, the 10 ruble, is hexagonal, is colored a cheerful rosy red hue, and features Catherine the Great, the Empress of all Russia, from 1762 to 1796. And at first, this might seem like a fairly random inclusion in this lineup of people with local Prednistроvian connections, but Catherine was ruler of Russia when Tiraspol was founded, and according to at least one article I've read, she is credited by the Prednistроvian people with having played some part in the founding of Tiraspol. I'm not sure how, but they seem to think she did something. The reverse sides of these coins are all identical, other than the color, and feature a harlequin pattern and the Cyrillic letter initials of the Prednistроvian Republican Bank. Planet technology also provides options for several banknote-like security features. As this illustration shows, Planet coins can have either infrared sensitive or ultraviolet sensitive markings, plus the semi-transparent material they're made of could also be used to create something like a watermark, which is pretty cool. On these ruble coins, under UV light, you can see some UV sensitive fibers, which is pretty fascinating to see on a coin. I don't have an infrared light, unfortunately, so I can't check for this sort of marking. Also, there doesn't seem to be any sort of watermark on these particular coins. One more notable difference between these and other Prednistроvian coins, like this one, a 10 kopek coin I collected on my visit, is the face value. All Prednistроvian coins made before or since these are worth much less than a ruble, and all banknotes have been worth 1 ruble or more, so a 10 ruble coin is a pretty new direction. All 4 of these coins were issued in 2014, becoming the first real-world usage of Gosnak's Planet technology. The coins were in regular day-to-day use, although I have heard from both Gosnak and someone at the Prednistроvian government that these coins were not produced in huge quantities, and they have now mostly been removed from circulation by eager collectors. Like me. Sorry. I like these coins in terms of the way they look, but what excites me most is the new technology used to make them. Like the very best innovations, Planet coins seem like an obviously good idea once you've seen them. They are lighter, cheaper, and more secure than normal coins, but also are much more durable than banknotes. And I suspect, thanks to the variety of shapes that Planet coins can be made into, it must be much easier for the visually impaired to differentiate between denominations. Despite digital transactions becoming more and more common, there are still many parts of the world where cash is still very much king, and in my experience, these economies tend to rely much more on banknotes than coins. But these banknotes also tend to quickly become tattered and dirty as they pass from hand to hand. Sure, polymer banknotes are one solution for this, but Planet coins also offer another option, which I suspect would work really well all around the world. And one more thing, Gosnak also has another product called Planet MC, which is a normal Planet coin surrounded by a metal ring. Gosnak were kind enough to supply me with images of some of their test coins, and I have to say these look really spectacular. So that's it. Whatever your position on the Prednistроvian Moldavian Republic, you have to admire their willingness to test out new currency technology, and you have to admire Gosnak for coming up with this idea in the first place. Since the release of these coins in 2014, which Gosnak have said was a successful test run, no other country has issued any Planet coins yet, but I suspect it is just a matter of time. If you're interested in learning more about Prednistrovia, I would recommend reading a book by English comedian Tony Hawks called Playing the Moldovans at Tennis. It's really a book about Hawks' quest to defeat every player on the Moldovan football team at tennis. It was a bet. And since some of the Moldovan players live in Prednistrovia, he spent a few days there. It's very funny, but be aware, it was written nearly 20 years ago, so it's not exactly an up-to-date picture of either Moldova or Prednistrovia. There's a link in the description if you'd like to buy a copy on Amazon. And by the way, this is an affiliate link, which means if you buy a copy, it will help support this channel. Thanks for watching. Did you know much about the breakaway republic known as Prednistrovia? And would you be happy to use Planet coins in your country? Let me know in the comments. And please be sure to like and share this video, and I'd be really delighted if you could subscribe as well. And I'll see you in the next video.